Today on the LA Food Podcast, an episode featuring so much royalty you'd be forgiven for calling us the LA Monarchy Podcast. Stupid. We're joined today by none other than LA's Queen of Carbohydrates, President of Pizza, and Secretary of Sourdough, Nancy Motherflippin' Silverton. I had the distinct pleasure of sitting down with Nancy at Osteria Mozza for a free jazz conversation covering her career, her unique perspective as a restaurateur who's experienced dazzling success across multiple eras of LA dining, and why, after all these years, she feels the need to keep bringing new, exciting concepts to life for Angelinos. We also discussed the exciting panels she's speaking on at LA Chef Con in October, including a tribute to the late great Jonathan Gold and a look back at 10 years of Netflix's hit show Chef's Table. But first, to quote friend of the pod Forking Around, we did it, dear listener. Father Saul and I finally paid our respects to John Yao and Ryan Bailey's Kato. How did the #1 restaurant on Bill Addison's 101 live up to the lofty expectations? Listen to find out. In Chef's Kiss Big Miss, there's a Jen Harris review of Nobu, a buzzy new West Hollywood hotspot courtesy of a Southern celebrity chef, and an upcoming ode to the classic Chinese-American combo plate. A reminder that the LA Food Podcast is part of the Acquired Taste Media Network. Be sure to listen to our sister podcast, Takeando, with Bill Esparza. And please, please, please consider leaving all of our shows a rating or review wherever you listen. I'm your host, Lucas Servodio, and without further ado, it's time to chow down. The LA Food Podcast is presented by The Lonely Oyster. Unwind at The Lonely Oyster's Echo Park Night Watch. Did you know that every night is industry night at The Lonely Oyster, dear listener? Stroll in after 10 p.m. nightly for a one-of-a-kind experience designed for the night owls and hospitality pros. Indulge in $12 handshake cocktails, expertly crafted liquid chef concoctions, delicious late-night hot bites, and chef's choice dozen oysters. More than just a place to unwind, The Lonely Oyster warmly welcomes industry professionals, providing a space where like-minded individuals can connect, relax, and enjoy the camaraderie that comes with the late-night scene. Whether you're looking to kick back after a long shift or simply enjoy the vibrant atmosphere, late night at The Lonely Oyster is the perfect rendezvous for those who appreciate good company and great food and drinks. Don't miss this nightly affair and let the good times roll at The Lonely Oyster. Welcoming back to the LA Food Podcast, a man who is actively cheating on me in a culinary sense by having what he claims are some of the best meals he's had all year up in Seattle of all places. What do you have to say for yourself, Father Saul?
I apologize for nothing. And also, apparently I fucked up because I spent 7 years in this city and a couple of these spots have been around for a minute. One of them is new, but I didn't maximize my time. It's one of those things where, it's kind of like when you visit a place, you like go out of your way to make sure you're eating the best shit they have. When I was living here, I was like, oh yeah, Archipelago's right down the street. I can go whenever, and just never did. So yeah, some great stuff happening in the Northwest, my man.
What is Archipelago?
Archipelago is a Pacific Northwest cuisine through progressive Filipino American flavors. It's honestly one of the best kind of service experiences and not only food experiences, but like educational and connecting experiences I've had. The chef there, Aaron, and his team take you through like basically a history lesson as they walk you through, what was it, like maybe a 10-course, 11-course tasting menu, each one relating to and serving or inspired by some piece of Filipino-American history in the Northwest. An honestly awesome dinner. Aaron was very cool to talk to. He had just been to Kato, funnily enough.
No way.
Down in LA. Yeah. And we were talking about that a little bit. Highly, highly recommend. If you are going to the Pacific Northwest, see if you can plan ahead, get a ticket to Archipelago, and get a reservation at Atoma. Atoma, dude, I think might be some of the tastiest food I've had all year. It's a restaurant in Wallingford, started by two former Canlis alum, I believe.
Yeah.
And some of just the most delicious, like humble food. It's like in a house in Wallingford on the street.
That sounds dope.
Fucking fire. It was great. You would have loved Atoma. I think Atoma is like just fucking delicious food. Archipelago is like the coolest experience. The Northwest, man. You talk shit. It's fucking great up here.
You talk shit, my man. Yeah, if anyone talks shit, it was you. I feel like,
I do talk shit. I do talk shit. Yeah, quite a lot.
is this just a grass is greener type situation?
No, dude, no. I think it's literally like so. Atoma opened right as I was moving out, I believe. So I hadn't had a chance to get around. Archipelago, I've been hearing about for years. It's James Beard nominated. It's like I've known it's one of the best places, dude. It's literally so good that I'm going to a wedding on Saturday. I didn't have a gift, and my gift is going to be 2 seats at Archipelago for the couple. So fucking really cool.
Because you're just assuming that the people you associate yourself with are as inept about checking new restaurants out as you are.
I feel like they haven't gone. Even if they have, you like it's a place where you should just go again and again. So shout out to Aaron, shout out to the Archipelago team, and shout out Atoma. Atoma is really fucking good.
Well, hey, with that in mind, I pulled a bit of a White Lotus season 2 because knowing you were cheating on me from a culinary perspective.
You cheated on me? You pulled an Aubrey Plaza? No, it wasn't Aubrey. It was
I
the
pulled
other
a
couple.
Megan Fahey.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I pulled a Megan Fahey. I went to Moosecraft today.
Oh, okay.
As you know, I've been I've been needing to go try their burger. And so I headed over to Lincoln Heights. I filmed my entire like intro out front before going in. And as I go in, I'm like super excited. I've been looking forward to this all day. It's been kind of an intense day. And I go up to the counter and I say, hey, can I have one of your thick burgers, thick boys, whatever they call them? They're fucking sold out, dude. Fucking sold out.
That's what you get for crossing me, bro. They know.
I know. It was karma. It was truly karma. So, they were like, but we have brisket, we have, ribs. And I was like, oh, I'm here on a very specific mission. So I literally just got in my car and I had to find a different burger. But it was a happy surprise because I went to a spot in Glendale called The White Hut. Have you heard of this place?
The what?
The White Hut.
The White Hut. You cut out there for a second. The White Hut.
Actually, no. It's actually called an even more problematic name, the Great White Hut.
Oh, sure. Yeah. No wonder you liked it.
Yeah, it was very Larry Bird coded. No, basically, like it's a spot that has intrigued me because it's been around since 1947. And it's like one of those old school like shacks, right?
A spot called the Great White Hut opened in 1947.
I'm starting to see some problems here.
I'm surprised it didn't get like torn down with the Confederate statues during BLM.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? Maybe, there is surprisingly little information about them on the internet. There's no like cute little origin story, so maybe that's why. But it's really caught my attention recently because it's been around forever, and I've always thought of it as like nothing remarkable. But in the last few years, there have been other Great White Hut locations popping up. Like they've been expanding. They opened one in Echo Park. They opened one in Hollywood. I'm starting to think they got like bought out by like a Dubai investment company or something.
You're saying in recent years, the Great White Hut has had a resurrection of sorts. Interesting timing for their expansion.
This is Conspiracy Saul joining us. I think that's not what I'm saying, but all I'm saying is there is a weird coinciding of the timelines. And regardless, it kind of intrigued me because, I was like, what is this thing? I went and it was a surprisingly like unremarkable old school burger. Like I just expected if they were like going to be expanding, they were going to start doing the smash burger thing. However, one thing they do extremely well is loaded fries. I guess they started adding loaded fries like 10 years ago to like make it on TikTok and Instagram. They had carne asada fries, bro, with garlic aioli as the sauce, like a really loose garlic aioli, and feta cheese, which I think is a little nod to the fact that they're in Glendale. That's sort of like Armenian solidarity, right? They were fucking lit, dude. The fries themselves were excellent. I don't know what your preferred type of fry is, but I like a slightly thicker cut, like golden brown one, like super crispy, but still like potatoey in the middle.
Yeah, I'm a thick cut fry. Yeah.
They were like that. They were almost like bistro fries, like, really, really good, topped with just a very like citrusy, almost garlic aioli. And I think the citrus from feta actually also helped because feta is like one of the only cheeses that has a little citrus in it too. So just excellent loaded fries. So mediocre burger, excellent fries. I guess I'll have to wait for you to go to Moosecraft.
Oh yeah, please do wait for me. Did you figure out why they're white? Why is it white? You know how In-N-Out's like you go in, you get in and out, right? That's why it's there. What makes the hut white? I mean, I'm assuming it's a white building.
It's actually a red building.
But I see it has red trim too.
Yeah.
Red building. Okay, so so there's something else white about it, and great and white about it that we need to figure out.
I think the less we figure out, the better in some cases. Yeah, look, I don't know what the name is about. I do not stand with them in any way, shape, or form. But the fries can get it.
It's like the wokest company of all time. We just have no idea. They pay reparations or something. We just have no clue.
I think if you're doing that when your name is the Great White Hut, you might be doing it because your name is the Great White Hut. Anyways, that's neither here nor there.
Sure, I see the math on that. Yeah.
Anyways, we are here today to discuss a very specific topic. The fact that finally, after way, way, way too long, we made it to the number one restaurant on the LA Times 101. I'm talking about Kato. We finally made it because I lost a bet, actually. This is how we typically do things. We wait for one of us to lose a bet so that only one of us has to foot the bill for an exorbitant meal. I lost the bet for the Champions League. I bet on Inter Milan. They got pumped 5-0 by PSG, and therefore I was on the hook for this one. It took us a little while to get there because I kept canceling. I kept trying to duck Saul and hoping he would forget. But he didn't forget. And alas, we finally made our way to the row in the Arts District last Wednesday, and we had a pleasant 6:30 reservation, I believe. Saul, first of all, let's start here. How ashamed are you that we had not been to Kato before last week?
Well, I didn't live in the city, so I was less ashamed than you should be. It was nice to do it as per tradition, right? We bet the Champions League final on the number one restaurant in LA, and you have to do it right. I feel like we did it right. We went right. We went exactly on time.
Yeah.
Now I can't speak to. Maybe you should have gone a bit earlier, but I was there exactly on time, eating my free Kato dinner. Made it all the sweeter.
It was, yeah, I can only imagine how sweet it was for you because it was pretty sweet for me too, and I had to foot the bill, so, it is what it is. So why don't we set the scene for our listeners? Most people have been to the Row for other reasons, whether it's Pizzeria Bianco or Smorgasburg, but what about the restaurant specifically? How would you describe the aesthetic?
Intentional, clean, spacious, warm, and welcoming. It was a cool, like, we've been to a couple spots this year. I've been to a couple spots, like your Michelin starry spots, where the formality, I mean, certainly the hospitality is great, but the formality is almost overwhelming.
Yeah.
This was like neighborhood restaurant, but taken to 11 vibe. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like comfortable and chill. We got the story behind the artwork and we're like the very intentional detail behind every piece in the dining room.
Yeah.
You could feel it when you walked in. Like it was great.
It's funny because, like, aesthetically speaking, it's actually a pretty, like, you might say minimalist, like, because it does feel like a little industrial. You're obviously in the Row, right? And there's a lot of cement, but there's also wood accents and darker colors as well. But I'd still describe it as somewhat minimalist. Yeah, there's art on the wall here and there, right? And plants and whatnot. But it's really when you sit down and you start taking in all the details that you realize, oh, wait, this is much more than just one of those like cheesy, trying to be cool minimalist places. They've put thought into everything. To your point, we got the story of how, like, the art that's near the bar was actually painted by John's grandfather, right?
That's right. Yeah.
That's pretty dope. Then there was also a huge sort of like massive art piece in the back of the restaurant, and I believe that was painted by an artist friend of theirs. The thing I really appreciate about it too is, like, they also in their decor try to do nods to the fact that what the Row used to be, which apparently was like this massive place where, like, all of the produce in America was bought and sold, right? So obviously that is a place where there's fruit and vegetables and lots of fresh stuff, but it's also a place of commerce and business and, like, somewhat industrial in and of itself because of the surroundings in downtown LA.
Why are we spending so much time on this when we talk about the food? This is like, it's a very beautiful, intentional space. I know you have like room to breathe. The tables aren't on top of each other. Like, you're not trying to stuff covers in. It's great. Let's get to the fucking best food I've had all year. Let's do
Oh
this.
shit! All right, fair. I'm so glad you cut me off. I literally was like listening to myself speak. I was like, I fucking hate myself. I literally do.
I was like, what are you doing? Why are you still talking?
I don't know. I'm just like my mind is like all over the place today, bro. Okay, let's get to the food. Okay, there's a menu. There's a tasting menu. We did the tasting menu. There are a few different add-ons that we could add. We had the option to add the add-ons. To you was a no-brainer. You were like, let's add them.
Let's try it. I mean, we're here. We're here. This is the time. Also, I'm not paying, so so let's put a bigger dent in your wallet if I can.
The add-ons were an uni donut of sorts. The actual name of the donut is a Gruyere. There was a lobster dish as well, and as soon as Saul heard lobster, his ears perked up and was like, "Of course, we're adding that to the bill." There were also the options for pairings, which we actually tried to not do. We ordered beers when we got there. However, Ryan Bailey, the amazing beverage director slash sommelier extraordinaire of the restaurant, came over and pretty much was like, you have to do this. You have to do the pairings. So they were kind enough to get to hook us up with a wine pairing and an NA pairing, just to give us sort of the full breadth of and depth of the experience. You are not usually a pairing guy, but I feel like you have become one more so recently.
I don't. I'm pretty choosy about drinking alcohol, in particular with like food, like as a whole. So I can be picky. I like to try different pairings. I think the dynamic pairing we had at Vespertine really opened my eyes.
Yeah.
To but I typically will not choose a wine pairing if it's offered, here or there maybe. But this one in particular, I'd heard so much good stuff about the NA pairing.
Yeah.
I think were they the first to do a full NA pairing in the city?
I believe so.
I think I had one at Archipelago last night as well, where I think NA pairings allow maybe a bit more customized specificity to the food, just because you can like create whatever juice or concoction it is that you want to meet the dish with. So yeah, I was appreciative that we were able to test them both out.
I have to say, like, you beginning to appreciate pairings is one of my proudest moments as like a pod parent.
Were you even a pairing guy? Are you a pairing guy? Would you say that?
Yeah, I'd say I'm a pairing guy. I think that my love for pairings or appreciation for pairings really comes from like wine tasting, which is something that my wife and I are very fond of doing. So, there have been many times during wine pairings where you can opt for like the food pairing with the wine. And that's always the best experience for me, because seeing how like the two things bounce off each other, it's like a really fun game of like mix and match from a culinary perspective, right? So
Yeah.
I really appreciate a pairing. I mean, to be fair, I don't think I'd done too many like fine dining pairings before we went to Vespertine, but like now I kind of feel like you're really only getting half the experience if you don't do it.
Yeah, there's something to that. Yeah. I really, like I said, I do. My favorite thing about Vespertine's dynamic pairing was that they, like, as they presented it, it was like, hey, look, this is, if we could choose anything in the world to pair with this, it would be this NA or beer or wine or whatever.
Yeah.
Which would make it really cool. And I felt that I had a similar feeling during this meal, particularly with I thought the NA pairing was special.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
By the way, did you happen to save your menu and take a picture of the wines that we drank?
No.
I knew you wouldn't have. So I DM'd Ryan today to ask him to send over an image of the wines we drank, or like a snapshot or a screenshot of the menu. He did, but he sent it in vanish mode, and I took a screenshot. But your phone doesn't allow you to screenshot from Instagram. So I was trying to like write this fucking agenda, and I realized, oh god damn it, I don't have the pairings. Luckily, he did email me over the vintage pairing, which is another pairing that they have, which are wines that are all more than 10 years old, I believe. And so I have the vintage pairings we had as well as the NA pairings. So we're going to run those down. Anyways, to your point, let's get to the goddamn food. The first thing to hit the table was a trio of like welcome to the party dishes. Two of them were one biters. One featured a perfect slice of raw fish, and the other a delicately dolloped sphere of chili crab. These were accompanied by a bowl on the side that was described as cold noodles. There weren't any noodles in there, but the flavor did evoke the cold noodle dish to me, liang pi, which was one of my favorite cold noodle dishes in the Chinese canon. So, first impression as soon as you took these first three bites.
I love being welcome to the party, bro. I love this is one of my favorite dishes that we had throughout the evening, just because it hit you with such a bang. And I was like, the cold noodle dish, once you dug in, like the raw fish and the crab, both delicious. The cold noodle is when you're like, oh, we're in for it. That was like,
yeah,
that's me getting excited. Of course, I'm excited to try Kato, but I've had like I've had a dinner or two this year that I was anticipating that didn't quite hit. I wasn't expecting it to be the case like Kato, and once I had these bites, I knew it wouldn't be. It was that good.
Yeah.
It was when I got hype. And we should mention, by the way, I believe this is a new menu that they recently flipped into at the end of June, beginning of July, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so according to Ryan, basically they're constantly changing the menu. Like a
Sure.
couple dishes change like every week or something like that. So you'll get like a whole new menu every couple months or so, right?
Got it.
So
Got it.
it's almost like a natural evolution of the menu. So yeah, definitely if you went to Cato like I don't know, a couple months ago, this is going to be a different menu than you experienced probably, and it will be a different menu in a couple months time. So, but I think that the thing that is consistent, and this goes back to this cold noodle dish, is we were told like they want a lot of these dishes to be like versions of excellent dishes you can get in the San Gabriel Valley.
Yeah.
So like basically they're like, you know, we're almost like introducing you to those dishes, and then you can go get, and in their very humble way they said, the much better version somewhere else. Although I'm sure that not all the versions of the San Gabriel Valley live up to this quality and innovation. That's why this cold noodle dish really hit me the hardest, because I think, yeah, I've had chili crab at like Singaporean restaurants and stuff like that, but the cold noodle dish, it really did capture, without any noodles in it, that feeling of having one of those super refreshing, like whether it's a Szechuan cold noodle dish or whatever it is, it brought you there, right? It's like every single dish, it feels like, was trying to give you that ratatouille moment of that awesome meal you had in the San Gabriel Valley that one time. Moving on. This is where we got one of the add-ons. It was time for the uni Gruyere. It was topped with, this is the thing, we ate this like a week ago, so the details are a little blurry, but there was Iberico ham, I think, on top, and caviar. This was followed by two like excellent, or actually a few different fish courses. One was a fish maw soup, which was a recreation of shark fin soup, and it was served with a little vinegar on the side. There was a sour vegetable fish. That's what it's called on the menu, but essentially what it was, it's a perfectly cooked fish with a little bit of a sour soup surrounding it, right? Swimming around it. We were then blessed with one of those add-on dishes that Saul raised his hand so enthusiastically for. This was the salted egg with lobster. And we then finished with our two, what I'd call like our sort of like two major protein dishes, right? There was the quail, which was served with sticky rice and with a couple little mushrooms that gave off a super strong aroma of pine. And then sort of like the big finale, the grand finale, it was a cumin lamb dish, lamb three ways, inspired by the feng maos of the world, the sort of like Cuban lamb skewers, like northern Chinese you can get. And this was served with some delicious, warm, sticky bread with finishing salt on the top. And that was the end of the savory courses. So, hearing that back, what are you feeling in your pants?
I'm feeling nostalgia in my pants, bro. I'm feeling gratitude. I'm feeling. I remember saying to you, I think, during this dinner that, kind of the most mind blowing meal I had this year was Vespertine. We kicked it off with a bang in January, and that was like, that was surprise and delight because we weren't sure what to expect going in there,
Yeah.
based on some of the mixed reviews in the past, and we were blown away. I had apparently the finest / fanciest food I'd had all year at Addison, kind of like the first 3 Michelin star experience. You reach that level and you really kind of see what that is and is not about, which was an interesting thing too. To me, this was the most perfect LA dinner I had all year.
Yeah.
This is like the perfect LA dinner experience. Ryan Bailey is a fucking genius and an amazing host.
Yeah.
He like the stories he told and the knowledge he shared with us all night was way above and beyond and super appreciated, and it really came through in the way that they had thought through the beverage program of the entire restaurant. Chef John Yao, like the humility of that dude, it's in the most complimentary way possible.
I know.
The vibe is like the buddy you can talk to at the back, like at the back of math class, where you're just like making jokes during class, like that level of just like openness,
Yeah.
and groundedness. And he's so clearly a genius.
Yeah.
He's like the stuff he's able to do,
Yeah.
taking inspiration from his childhood in the San Gabriel Valley, telling a story about Los Angeles and taking these ingredients and those inspiration and executing a menu at this level that you can feel connected to, even if I did not grow up in San Gabriel Valley, like like
Yeah.
food memory flashes that just like everything about it was perfect.
Yeah.
The interior that you described in such detail, like I like from step to step, I was like, this is the ultimate LA meal I've had this year. When we had Poltergeist for the first time, I said the same thing for a very different experience and for very different reasons. I think Anna Jack, the first time I had Thai Taco Tuesday, very similar experience. This fits right into that canon of like, this feels so special to be in the city eating this food.
Yeah. I wasn't ready for like the loftiness of the review. I was looking more for so like individual dish thoughts, but I couldn't agree more. Like I truly, I talked about this after Addison and how like there's a feeling you get after certain meals that leave you like feeling like you've just been to, I don't know, a music festival or, some, or like a World Cup or the Olympics, right? It's like this feeling of like connectedness to something bigger than yourself. It leaves you sort of like riding high, not just after the meal, but like the next couple days after.
Yeah.
And dude, this achieved that. Like I was riding high, and that I must have been riding super high because I footed the bill. You know what I mean? So like no matter how much that hurt, the ecstasy of this meal and the experience overrided that, right? So it was incredible. And to your point about Ryan, I want to talk about the pairings a little bit because I do have some of the pairings handy, right? One of the like couple of the standout pairings for me, one was their wine that they produce themselves with Cole Ranch up in Mendocino.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Sauvignon, which he told us a fascinating story about how like they were basically looking for kind of a funky white that would stand up well to Taiwanese food. Taiwanese food is not a cuisine that has a ton of acid in it. That's sort of where he felt like that's where the pairings could really step in, is like provide that, right? The problem is there's not a ton of Sauvignon made in California. So this winemaker, this like insane winemaker from Mendocino, essentially went to the region. I think it was Jura or something, and he literally like stole a branch from like a vineyard and brought it back to like make Sauvignon for Kato. Like that is the lengths to which we are going to here, people. Like, and the fact is, it did pair insanely well. I think that one may have been paired with the fish moss soup, if I'm not mistaken. But my other favorite pairing was the other Sauvignon, which, if I'm not mistaken, was the one that he said was the most polarizing one on the menu because it tasted like super high alcohol. It almost tasted like sherry, like it had almost like a caramelness to it. I think it was paired with either the salted egg and the lobster.
It was the sour fish. That was
the sour fish.
Yeah.
That's right. That's correct. And that pairing blew my mind, dude, because the sourness of the fish, that's right, with this sort of like very, pungent wine, you might say. It was funky. It was almost, it would have been an overload in any other hands, but these were the right hands to deliver that.
That was the one. I've never had a pairing like that in my life, or I never tasted anything like that in my life, where you have a bite of this, like lovely, warm, cozy, like sour broth, essentially, with this fish, and you finish it with this sherry caramel wine, and it feels like there's a swoop in your mouth.
Yes,
like almost like when you drop off a roller coaster and you feel like thing in your stomach.
Yeah,
that's like happening in your mouth when you have the pairing, because the way the two flavors interact and the way it finishes on your palate is so unexpected. And so like that for me, as I mentioned, the NA pairings like for me were a highlight. This is the alcohol pairing where I was like, that is irreplaceable what that's doing on this dish.
Finishes on your palate is not necessarily a phrase I want to hear too much come out of your mouth. But that said, I couldn't agree more. Like what you just described is basically like a roller coaster. Like it was a journey. It was a flavor journey. You start with the sourness and literally you take a swig right after. But by the time you've had everything settle into your taste buds, like you've gone on so many different iterations of it. You're kind of like, yes, I get it now. I get it, but I don't get it. It's like, I almost get how much I don't get. Do you know what I mean? And that is a great dining experience. The other wine that I really enjoyed, I think it was the Lopez de Heredia, which is a Spanish Rioja. but I think this is the one that was served with the lamb, if I'm not mistaken. I loved the story of this, which was basically just like Ryan's passion for this wine led him to go live in this tiny town in Spain. And like, these are stories that like he lived there for, I don't know, like over a year or something. Like he didn't just do like the digital nomad thing in Mexico City for a month. Like he went there and he fucking lived it, right? And these are the stories that you're like, oh, you're the guy that I was watching the documentary about in college that got me inspired to do this, that got me
Oh
inspired to do
shit.
food. It's like, it's literally, it's that level of passion. It's a level of passion that like
Yeah.
it's contagious, because you're like, I want to feel like that about something, even though I'm not going to be that inspired by this wine and move to Spain, right? I want something to inspire me to that degree.
I think the clarity and passion and intensity of the entire partnership
Yes.
behind Kato, right, was one of the things that came through in the
Yeah.
beer, right? And that's thanks in part to Ryan, again, being such a gracious host and kind of giving us the background. But you could feel it everywhere, right? Where everyone was so committed to the idea that what this restaurant could be. Even our waitress for the and whose name I can't remember. I'm
Me
so
too.
sorry, but like who served our dessert dishes, who had been with them since the original location,
Yes.
and I've been talking about kind of like the journey they'd all been on and where they are now. Like,
Went to high school with John or something?
that's right, that's
Yeah.
right, yeah, yeah, and had experienced some of the dishes that they were now inspired by and serving on the menu. Like, there's something really special about this particular restaurant. I
Yeah.
feel like there's like a family vibe, but also like an ambition and a commitment that's so crazy.
It's so fucking cool. Actually, you just gave me the chills when you said that, because like so many of these restaurants, right? Like they are viewed, marketed, positioned as the output of a singular genius, right? Of a singular person
Mm-hmm.
who is like kind of like above the rest, and everybody is just following their vision. Kind of like David Fields in The Bear, right? But like, this is so clearly a partnership. Now, that's not to say that like John Yao isn't a genius and he isn't like leading the way in the kitchen, right? But a lot of restaurants say that food doesn't lead the way, that the beverage program is just as important, right? You actually feel it here. You feel the way that
Mm-hmm.
the two of these things are like so deeply entrenched and symbiotic to each other, and how they lift each other up. It's almost like when you buy a new striker for your soccer team, but you've already got a good striker, and you bring him in to create competition, and they both end up going off and having 20 goal seasons, right? That's what I'm hoping happens at Chelsea this season. Regardless, that's what I'm getting here. It's like two people who are inspiring each other because of how like the extent to which both of them go to create a special experience. And by the way, I just wanted to add, like, if you listening at home are like, oh, well, you just got a special experience because, you have like a small podcast or whatever. No, you looked around the dining room, like Ryan was like stopping at every table.
Ryan's talking to everybody.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Telling them the same stories, talking to them as much as they wanted to be spoken to, essentially. If the tables were engaging, he was staying there and telling them every story, right? So this is an experience that you honestly have to go to in order to experience. Like, we are not, I just want to be really clear. We're saying such nice things about this restaurant. We're not doing it justice. Like, we are not doing it justice.
Yeah.
We haven't described the food to the. I'm embarrassed with how we've described the food and the pairings.
No, because you can't. It can't be done.
Yeah.
It can't be done. Like, not in a way that will give it justice, right? That's like the. I mean, if you're in LA, go to this restaurant.
Yeah.
If you're visiting LA, go to Kato.
Yeah.
That's the place you have to go. I've realized this. You're going to ask me about like Michelin and stuff in a second, and I've like eaten more whatever. We've been eating more and more off like your world's 50 best and all that shit. Just to like whatever, go taste the restaurants that are like the most recognized, James Beard and all that. I've realized it's very very simple for me. I have like one of three reactions every time I leave a restaurant. It's okay. I'm not going to go back. I'm not going back there. I'm not going to tell people to go back there. I'm happy I went. I would go back again, but I'm not in a rush.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's you walk out and you're literally picturing the next time you can go and the people you want to tell
Yeah.
about going and the people you want to bring there. And that's the highest that is the level for me. That's Kato. That's Vespertine. That's Atoma and Archipelago in Seattle. it's not Addison
Yeah.
for me, right? That's like I'm very happy I went and did that.
Yeah.
I mean, we was like, yeah, I would be like, hey, if you want to check it out, right? Do that. I had a beautiful dinner there. Like, check it out, do that. But like, I'm not rushing. I'm not pickering how I can get my parents
Right.
to some of those places, right? And to me, like, that's basically going to be my scale from now on.
Yeah.
And I walked out of Kato picturing the next time I can go to Kato.
Yeah.
Like, I literally, it's like that, right? And that's all that's all I can really say.
Well, hey, let's talk about the bigger picture real quick on the story, because we had a fascinating conversation over this dinner about stories and storytelling, right? And like how much that actually impacts a meal, because some people think that like a restaurant kind of lives or dies by the story it tells. Like, yes, the dishes can be excellent, but ultimately what really brings it over the edge is the extent to which you're able to connect it to what the chef is trying to tell you, right? There's some like really overt examples of stories like Vespertine telling you that you're going to like the center of the creation of the world, and Meteora telling you you're going to like the center of the creation of the Amazon or whatever. And then there's sort of like more subtle storytelling. Where do you think this was?
Yeah, I consider storytelling, I think, maybe slightly, or I weight it slightly differently from you. To me, it's less the story and more what am I. I know you mean the same thing by it, but like,
Yeah.
what am I like? What like is there something to like that the chef is connecting to here that he would like to share with me?
Yeah.
And this was very clear, right? This was like a story of their childhood and appreciation of the place that raised them, right?
Yeah.
And almost like a love letter to this geography at San Gabriel Valley and the diversity of cuisine there, and that adds meaning to me. If none of that was said to me,
Yeah.
I would still have thought this was one of my favorite. Maybe I wouldn't be like it's the perfect LA meal because I wouldn't have had the context for that, right? I wouldn't have been like, oh, this is like where I'm seeing and growing, but it still would have been a place where I walk out and can't wait to go back again. I just had this experience, and I'll refer for one last time to the restaurants I just ate at Seattle. Atoma and Archipelago. Archipelago is a restaurant that's like rooted in story. The point of the restaurant is the story, almost more so than the food. Like the point is to give you an appreciation of the history and contribution of a particular community, the Filipino American community, to the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
Atoma is just great food. Like it's people who just make great food. And I honestly walked out probably a little bit more excited to go back to Atoma.
Yeah.
Because the food was so excellent, right? And it was like and I now experienced the story of Archipelago, and more so I want people to go, but like I'm not necessarily going back myself so quickly.
Yeah.
So it has a weight, but it's not everything.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
True. I think that story has the potential to make a good meal great sometimes,
Sure.
but I don't think it can save a bad meal. Like I don't think
Yeah.
you can't just give me a story and then serve me like, what's a restaurant we hate? Just kidding. We don't do that. But you know what I mean? Just serve me like a lackluster meal and try to tell me a story about your childhood and make me think like this is going to be good because of that. No, that's not going to work. But I do think that there's some times that you see an excellently technically executed dish on the plate and you can taste it and it's good and it's great. But then you get the background and the story. Maybe it's of the ingredient. Maybe it's of why they chose to do it. Maybe it's of how it connects to the chef's, past and experience. And then it can make it excellent and memorable. It's really about memory, right? And I think that's why it helps me in those situations. And to me, that was here, right? It took some food that I think was already excellent and made it unforgettable.
Mm-hmm.
Even though we can't remember the specific ingredients of every dish, I can remember the flavors, and I know I'm not going to forget those, right? Because the story hammered it in. Now, to get to the really unimportant stuff, a lot of people think this restaurant should have 2 Michelin stars, not 1 Michelin star. A, do you care? B, do you agree?
I don't care beyond unless you're considering the extent to which I think Chef Yao and Ryan should be recognized for their achievement, right? Like I'm not caring about Michelin stars anymore. Like straight up, I don't think I am.
Damn.
But I would like. I mean, but you. It's kind of like rooting for the good guy in the movie a little bit, where you're like, I want them to get it. Of course, I want Jordan Kahn to get but I would root for really most any chef here because I just appreciate the passion, the hard work, and the commitment. Right?
Yeah.
I do think like based on the other Michelin starred meals I've had in America and Mexico and Europe this year, Kato is quite clearly at least the 2 Michelin star level, like quite like kind of unquestionably in my eyes.
Yeah.
But that's That's up to them or whatever bullshit. But like, this is there. That's where they're at.
I think a more important question, and it's not important necessarily, but kind of interesting given our remit here on this podcast. How about its status as the number one restaurant 2 years running on the LA Times 101? Do you think it's deserved?
I'm good with that. Yeah, I need to eat more of the top 10. I'm excited to go to Providence. We should do a Providence bet so you can pay for my meal there. We should do Hayato. Hayato is that's how it's pronounced?
Yes, I believe so.
I'm excited about that. It was a cool piece of lore that Hayato Go is the one who I think told Kato to come find this spot basically right across the street from his own operation, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yeah.
And, like, you have like two, like, it's kind of like welcoming the like competition, but also like welcoming excellence, right? In your backyard, which is really cool.
Buying a striker when you've already got a striker.
There you go. Yeah. Getting some jokers on top of your Havertz, so to speak. But no, that would be obviously a better example there. But I very much think it does. I will say, I know how to say this. I was much more compelled by Kato as an LA Times number one restaurant or restaurant of the year sort of candidate than I was Baru when we went there.
Yeah.
And it's just very cool to have this place in our backyard. Like it just is really cool.
I think those are two different awards.
It's true.
And like the extent to which Bill Addison like takes into consideration much bigger things than just the food for the restaurant of the year. Like he's taking into like talk about story versus food. That is so much about the story, I think. So, but yeah, in terms of number one, I'm yet to have a dinner or a meal that does a better job of telling an LA story in such a compelling way than this. Mm-hmm. No notes, Bill. No notes. Kato, everybody's got to go. Saul, I don't want to take too much of your time up today, but most importantly, I want to get to our interview with Nancy Silverton. But are you down for a really quick round of Chef's Kiss Big Miss?
Make it quick. I want to hear from Nancy.
All right. LA Times' Jen Harris dropped a review of Nobu, inspired by the arrival of a new executive chef at the La Cienega location. The piece serves as an acknowledgement of the crucial role Nobu has played in advancing sushi in the United States, while also giving us a clear-eyed sense that, while there are still some bangers on the menu, it, quote, won't be and probably shouldn't be your favorite sushi restaurant, unquote. Saul, I don't know your stance on Nobu. Do you think it's a chef's kiss or a big miss?
I can't say because I haven't been to a Nobu in LA yet.
Okay, yeah, but Nobus are like the same everywhere.
Yeah, I'm not mad at Nobu. You just like, you know what it is going in.
Yeah.
I want to go to Nobu in LA, do some celebrity spotting or whatever. I don't think it's a big miss. I think it's an institution. It's like an LA Times Hall of Fame style restaurant to me. It's like, it's good. It'll be a sad day when the last Nobu closes, right? God forbid, knock on wood, right?
Damn.
But I'm just saying that because we're in this moment where all these LA institutions are closing and we're talking about how we need to like appreciate them for when they're there. And Nobu, I think, is that kind of institution, right? With a history and a moment and legitimate contributions to the food scene.
Yeah, I think Nobu's got that VC money, so I don't think they're worrying about any closures anytime soon.
Sure, yeah. Their clientele will keep it open.
Yeah. All right, chef's kiss for Nobu. Next one, Brian Dunsmore of Dunsmore announced on Instagram that he'll be taking the much-celebrated bar burger off the menu, ... for now. Bye-bye burger, he said. Look out for something new coming mid-September. The comments on the post expressed a mixture of mourning and excitement for what's next. Saul, is my failure to take you to Dunsmore prior to the burger's removal a chef's kiss or a big miss?
I'm actually going to say chef's kiss, surprising you, because I don't need that burger.
Huh.
That's not what I need from Dunsmore. You do owe me dinner at Dunsmore too. What did you lose for that one?
I feel like that was just like the semifinal of the Champions League.
Oh, that was semifinal. Yeah, we gotta get more creative with our bets, but I'm looking forward to that as well. I wouldn't have ordered the burger when we went, right?
Yeah.
And I'm excited for the something new.
I'm okay with this, honestly. I had the burger from my burger crawl, and it was obviously extremely well executed, great quality ingredients, but it was so rich, dude. I was burping it up for like the next 3 days. I played soccer that night. I don't even want to talk. Like it was horrible. And so I'm not mad that this burger's gone. I think that there are just comparable things around town that are maybe even better. So, and honestly, like you're right. Like I go to Dunsmore for other things. I'm actually really excited to see what's coming mid-September. I have no idea. But anyways, we'll see. Next one. Eater reports that Sean Brock is opening his first Southern California restaurant on August 31st. It's going to be called Darling. Sean Brock, of course, of Final Table fame, which got a shout out, I think, on last episode, if not the episode before. Interestingly, though, Sean Brock will not be focusing on his southern roots for this restaurant, but rather focusing on more Southern California things like open fire and, of course, our produce. Saul, is Sean Brock's decision to open up a restaurant that's essentially similar to every other restaurant we have in Los Angeles a chef's kiss or a big miss?
Wait, what was the style of the restaurant he's opening?
So according to this article in Eater, it sounds like he's mostly going to be like prizing things like open fire and just showcasing California seasonal ingredients.
Oh, sure, totally. That kind of means anything. I'm happy to have him. Look, we were talking about like original. Like, look, he's obviously a well-established chef already, but we can't be saying, "Oh, we're so bummed that there aren't new restaurants, new original restaurants opening," and get mad when a dude is. Look, I understand he's within a certain template here. It sounds like, literally like Dunsmore. It sounds like he's trying to do Dunsmore, sort of, but like because I'm assuming he is going to bring some southern.
I think it's gonna be more of a tasting menu, though. Yeah.
Is he? Oh, he's going to tasting menu. Oh, interesting. Well, yeah.
Well, so there's only going to be 12 menu items. I'm unclear on whether it's a tasting menu or not, but 12 menu items.
That doesn't necessarily mean tasting.
Yeah, that's
menu.
true.
That doesn't mean tasting menu necessarily. I'm excited for that. I'm happy for this. Bring good chefs to LA.
My question was a little bit leading and a little bit unnecessarily facetious. I'm actually very excited for this because honestly, like, you know, you can. I think you can take the chef out of the South, but I don't know that you can take the South out of the chef. So even though it's not going to be an explicitly Southern concept, I'm sure he'll have certain things that we haven't really seen here in LA before. So I'm actually excited for Darling. Last one, it's also a restaurant opening, but I feel like we should talk about openings because we've talked about closures so much. Karen Stabiner of Eater reports that one of LA's most celebrated chefs, aka Brian Ing, formerly of Casilla and Spice Table, is opening up a Chinese-American combo plate spot, sort of like an elevated spot for orange mango chicken, chow mein, garlic chili shrimp. It's coming in September. Saul, spot serving, slightly elevated version of the Chinese-American combo plate. Chef's kiss, big miss.
Very much into it. Chef's kiss it.
Yeah, I'm into this too. I actually think like if Panda Express fucked.
Oh, that was the end of your sentence? Yeah. I suppose I will think of that.
Wow. Okay, that'll do for today, but I do have a really quick shitty Yelp review for myself, and it's really funny.
Keep it going.
So we went to the Amundsen Theater last night for a show called And Juliet. It was my wife's idea. She wanted to go to the theater to see a musical. We both like the occasional musical, and she'd heard interesting things about this one. The premise is this, right? It's essentially what if William Shakespeare had rewritten the end of Romeo and Juliet so that Juliet didn't actually kill herself after Romeo killed himself because like she has her whole life ahead of her, and it's like what happens next. And it's essentially like a rom-com musical with the music of this guy called Max Martin, who's like written a bunch of big hits that you've heard from like the Backstreet Boys, Britney Spears, like Katy Perry, a bunch of different people. Super fun. And there was this like message throughout, right, of like women being empowered, right? Like just women, like, you know, going off on their own, not needing to be tied down to a man
or kill themselves for him. Yeah, don't need to kill yourself for that man. Yeah, no, don't do that.
Never need to kill yourself for a man, never. And also there was sort of this subplot where like it wasn't actually William Shakespeare writing the play, but his wife. And so it's like women should write the story. Women should write their own story, right? And I thought it was so beautiful, so powerful. I wept openly in the theater, right? Like literally the end number was to the song Roar by Katy Perry. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it.
You cried to Roar?
No, I didn't just cry. I sobbed. I'm not ashamed to say I sobbed. It was beautiful. I was moved. Play ends, right? I'm giving it a stand and O as the cast is dancing to that song by Justin Timberlake. That's like, dun, 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 but just dance, 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 dance.
Oh,
you know
sure,
that song?
yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So that was the final number. Beautiful, uplifting. Everybody's dancing. I'm up there giving them a standing O. We get out of theater, and I'm like, expecting to just be like unequivocally, that was fantastic, right? To my wife. My wife says, I looked up who wrote this. It was a white middle-aged man. And all of the music was also written by a white middle-aged man. This entire musical about how women should write their own story. And basically, who's the one guy crying in the audience? The white, almost middle-aged man. So I feel like my shitty Yelp review is I just like fell for it, dude. I was like completely just taken by this like propaganda of essentially just keeping Hollywood for the white man.
You are the target audience of this. I think it's not, I don't think it's your fault. I mean, look, they made it for you and by you, so to speak.
Yeah.
That look, I don't just because something's propaganda doesn't make it bad.
Ooh.
I mean that's a take, I guess.
That is a take. You've had some takes on this podcast.
Have I? A message of empowerment is good, right? No matter whom it's from.
So I mean, that's what I thought.
Sure. Yeah. Look, man, white men make the world go round. We gotta face the facts. No, I'm joking. I look, because I'm so sick of you crying at everything, I'm gonna give you 2 stars. I thought that's like what you're mad about. When did your wife Google this? Like during the show?
Right after it was over. She was like, I just want to check something.
Did she like it before then? Was she into it?
I think she was a little suspicious throughout.
Withholding judgment. Yeah.
She was suspicious throughout. But then when she got confirmation that the white man had pulled one over on us, specifically, she was...
Get in line, baby. Get in line. You're not the first. You won't be the last.
You won't be the last. All right, Saul, this was a weird one, man. I was in a weird headspace today, but I feel like you Sherpa'd me through it in a way that I'm eternally grateful for. I hope you enjoy the rest of your time in Seattle eating delicious food without me, and we'll be back right after the break with Nancy fucking Silverton. Dear listener, I made a deal with my wife. She let me start a food podcast and eat ungodly amounts of noodles, pizza, sandwiches, and more under 2 conditions. One is that I never utter her name. The other is that I find ways to be healthy outside of my work in food. Being the fantastic partner I am, I found a few ways to up my health game. I exercise almost every day, I try to sneak in salads for lunch whenever I can, and I only ever snack on healthy foods. The macadamia nut has become an essential part of my daily routine with the best omega-6 to 3 ratios in the nut game, 8 times better than pistachios and 20 times better than cashews. At houseofmacadamias.com, they've got a bunch of different macadamia products that you can enjoy, like savory and sweet snack packs and chocolate-covered snack bars. One of the problems with macadamias I've found is that they can be expensive, but I'm solving this for you, dear listener, because as of today, all you've got to do is head to houseofmacadamias.com and use code LAFOOD to get a 10% discount on a healthy snack that also happens to be delicious. So what are you waiting for? Head to www.houseofmacadamias.com/discount/LAFood and go nuts. I am so excited, dear listener. This is very much a bucket list interview for me here on the LA Food Podcast. We are at Osteria Mozza with none other than Nancy Silverton. Nancy, how you doing today?
Good, and I gotta say, I really appreciate the way you pronounce Mozza, because it's not always pronounced correctly. I'll leave it at that. Sometimes I think people have the tendency to turn it into a Jewish Italian restaurant and call it matzah and other incarnations of the word mozza. So thank you for knowing how to spell, or not how to pronounce.
Yeah.
Mozza.
You're welcome. I mean, thank you for giving me a reason to say mozza. It's not an abbreviation we have all the time in the United States. So it's nice to...
No, but it is short for mozzarella.
Yeah.
And that's what the restaurant was named after. So.
Yeah. Oh, we're going to get there. Don't you worry. Well, hey, I have an icebreaker question for you. As a style icon yourself, which I think it's fair to say you are, I have a specific icebreaker question for you, which is, if you could trade closets with anyone, dead or alive, for 24 hours, who would it be?
Wow. How about if I trade closets, it's going to be, well, can I have 2 people?
100%.
Okay. So my first trade would have to be my dear friend who also happens to own a clothing store called Noodle Stories, where I do all my shopping. So it would make the most amount of sense to switch closets with her, right?
Yeah.
But then it would be fun to switch closets with Barbara Lazaroff, who is such a stylish dresser, but also has a whole wardrobe full of clothes that I've never put on before, I should say. So it would give me a whole new look. So
Yeah. She's got a different style from yours.
yeah,
what you're saying.
completely different.
Yeah.
So it would be kind of the same ish
Uh-huh.
or completely new depending upon my mood. So I'm going to take 2 closets.
Those are 2 great answers. I love
And
that.
that's a great question because, of course, usually that question is dinner party.
Yeah.
Who would be on your list,
Yeah.
alive or dead? I never expected to hear closet, so
Yeah.
that's a good.
That's
good
what you get
question.
here on the LA
Yeah,
Food Pod.
I
We're going to
guess
throw
so.
you curveballs, but in a friendly
Yeah.
way, you know?
Yep.
You know, that you're going to be able to hit out of the park. So we were introduced by Brad Metzger.
Yes.
In light of LA Chef Con, which is coming to Redbird and Vibiana on October 6th. You know, you agreed to speak at not 1, but 2 panels at the event, which betrays a certain amount of excitement for the event. What makes you so excited to participate in this particular conference?
Well, firstly, and maybe you can help me with this. What year is this of Chef's Con? Do you know how many years it's gone on?
I believe they've done it for 5 or 6 years.
Okay, so I'm definitely aware that it's been going on at least 3.
Yeah.
And each time Brad reached out to me, I was not available. So this time it was. So because it was, and there were 2 opportunities, I felt like I had to make up for my lack of being able to come. So
Got
that's
it.
why.
Got it. So I see that the Italian guilt is rubbing off on you in your time in Italy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But, also, I got to say, when I have the, opportunity to support food events in our great city of Los Angeles,
Yeah.
I always am there to help promote that because it's where I grew up, where I have my core businesses. And so for me, it's a win-win.
Yeah. And frankly, culinary scene you very much helped put on the map. Let's talk about the panels you're on. So one is a tribute panel to Jonathan Gold with Laurie Ochoa, Roy Choi, Ludo Lefebvre, and moderator Evan Kleiman. I think it's really remarkable that almost a decade on from his passing, we can't seem to stop praising Jonathan's life work. And, obviously it's a real testament, but there are a lot of chefs in the city who point to Jay Gold as a key catalyst for their success. But what's interesting to me about you is that by the time Jonathan really, ascended to, the culinary writing stardom, you were already really well established in your career. How did you see him change food media landscape pre and post him coming on the scene?
Well, I feel like my relationship with Jonathan really developed early on in opening Campanile. We also had mutual friends, so he wasn't just that feared or revered food critic. He was also a friend.
Yeah.
We traveled together. We ate We ate at each other's houses. Our kids played together. But to me, he was always somebody that he never failed to surprise me in his food knowledge, even if it was knowledge from places he had never even visited.
Yeah.
And sometimes it would be going to a restaurant where he had never had that food before, and yet the knowledge that he had and having those kinds of meals where he was able to talk about either the pros or the cons of that restaurant was always, a meal with a lesson.
Yeah, for sure.
It was always a twofer. But definitely, saw, as he got more comfortable, as his popularity, increased, he too embraced that, and just, as we all know, he just was a shining star in the food in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
right? He brought food in Los Angeles to the map and to the level of where it should have been. So
Yeah,
thank
yeah.
you, Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan. And he's the inspiration for so many people in food media like myself who do what we do today. Like, we wouldn't be here probably without him if he hadn't made it cool to do this, at least for this generation. You know, you mentioned you're friends with him. Obviously, you know, he was out there writing reviews. He was out there making lists like the 99 when he was at the LA Weekly, the 101 at the LA Times. Because you were friends, but there was also this professional, you know, sort of aspect to it. Were you ever like, come on, Jonathan, couldn't you bump me up a couple spots on the 101?
You know, I always was able to maintain that professional and the non-professional relationship with him. So, like, for instance, when I knew he was in not celebrating an event or coming along as a guest with, say, friends, I was able to be, you know, more with that the friendship role. When I wasn't quite sure why he was coming in for dinner, if it was more professional, then I left him alone and let him be a professional. I didn't, you know, come up to him really. I didn't, you know, send him some extra goodies as I normally would have had it been different circumstances. So I really was able to respect that, and never kind of came back to him and said, why was I not number one? Why was I 7? Or, you know, I never had expectations. I really didn't. I was able to separate the two.
I think that's really good context, because I feel like a lot of people look at reporters, food reporters, and think, oh, well, how can you be objective? Because, you know, obviously you're going to know these people working in this industry.
Right.
And it is possible.
Yeah.
So.
And look, we all know what Jonathan looked like. You know that once you knew who he was, he could not hide behind his look. He didn't just blend in. But I have to say that every single review or every time either myself or one of my restaurants were mentioned, he always put in the non-disclosure of, she's a friend, we travel together, I know her. And then, you know, so he didn't make it sound like it was anonymous.
Yeah, well, he was
he's a professional,
Yeah. And obviously, you know, you're extremely good friends to this day with his widow, Lori Ochoa. I know that you guys have a podcast together, which makes us colleagues. How do you like podcasting?
You know what? I like the way that we're doing it, and I don't know if you ever listened to it, and I can tell by you also it doesn't sound... Well, I think you, like today, you have a little bit more of an agenda because there's some things that you wanted to ask. But I like the fact that it's casual. You know, the whole thing came about, and it came about a couple of years ago, and a year and a half ago, something like that. It's relatively new. But the way it came about is Ruth Reichel, the third person on our 3-ingredient podcast, was in the midst of, I don't know if the right verbiage is signing a deal, but she was about to start a podcast with another food, I don't know if it was a food writer or a food journalist, another food podcast. And her son kind of came to her and said, you know, Mom, nobody really cares about that, you know. And she was kind of taken aback. And then he went on to say, you know what people would really love to hear would be when you and Lori and Nancy, you take your walks, because he knew whenever Ruth's in town, Lori and Ruth and I and our friend Marky also go on a 3-mile walk, hopefully every day. They would love to be a fly in the wall and just hear what you guys talk about. And so that's kind of what the podcast really is all about, is we turn on the microphone and we just talk. And I think sometimes it's probably interesting, and other times people probably just roll their eyes and think, I don't know where this is going, you know. But it really is. We just sort of talk, and like as if we were on our walk.
That's what makes for a good podcast, though.
Yeah.
It's chemistry between people.
Yeah, chemistry, definitely.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, because I've listened to someone, you know, like the thing you're missing is a little chemistry. So,
it's like, this is really robotic right now. Yeah, no, but you guys have that.
Yeah.
Where do you go for your walks?
In my neighborhood, which is because it's flat.
Yeah.
It's easy to park.
Yeah.
And we know exactly where we're going, and it's 3 miles. We don't have to, you know, Google Map anything. You know, we just go up, turn left, go around the block, go down, right, and back home. And it's 3 miles, and it's 1 hour.
Is food involved? Like, are you ending up at a pastry shop or what?
Yeah, no, we don't end up anywhere. And so food is not involved. Food is involved in the conversation. It always kind of goes to that.
Yeah.
but never. I don't think. Yeah, no, I don't think that we actually eat on our walks.
Yeah,
but
that's probably good. You know, if you're trying to get some exercise, do one at a time, right? Yeah. Well, the other panel you're talking that you're participating in is on a decade of Chef's Table with creator David Gelb, Sean Brock, and Andrew Friedman, and you were on one of the first seasons of Chef's Table.
The
third. Okay, that counts as one of the first.
Yeah.
I think, considering there's been like 14 now.
I know.
What kind of an impact did that have on your career?
You know, it's the gift, I always say, that keeps on giving.
Yeah.
Because it still is. And what's, I never would have thought this, you know, and I am really glad, by the way, that I took the time to give the 10 days that I needed to give for them to create that, you know, documentary. But I really hesitated. I didn't really want to do it. First of all, I thought and I still think that I really don't have that story that so many of the people that are on that show have. But I also, I was just really afraid that they were going to try to make me into something that I'm not currently, you know? And so that was the one thing I asked them is don't try to make me be this restaurateur that does everything. You know, I want to be myself, and they did, and I think they did a good job. But still, people not only come into the restaurant because they'll say, I just watched your Chef Table. Now, how many years ago was that? You do the math because I'm not very good about that. Third season, how many years? I mean,
I think it was, if I recall correctly, it must have been almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, I know. And yet people, and then also people, the amount of people that say, oh, I've seen your episode at least 10 times. I'm thinking, wow, you know how it ended. I mean, what? Walking down the street in another country and people yelling out the window.
Yeah.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. Oh, yeah, and people say, I watched you on Chef's Table. That's the first thing they said.
That's amazing.
For everybody that's been on and those that will be on, I got to say, it really is life-changing. I mean, we saw the numbers go up in our business that first year remarkably.
Wow. Yeah, I suspect the numbers will go up slightly less when people listen to the LA Food Podcast episode with you. But, you know, just by a smidge. You said 10 days. How invasive is the filming process?
Right.
Are they following you from, like, moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed?
It's not just that. There's interviews involved, right? There's behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. But that's what they asked for. They asked for a 10-day commitment.
Yeah.
And they got it. You know, so with mine, I was lucky enough that I did at least 3 days in Italy.
Yeah.
And then the 7 days here.
Yeah.
But that's, you know, whether they always use that amount of time, but they were 10 days, we lived together.
Yeah. You got to know them pretty well.
And by the time, on that 10th day, it was like, bye. It's been great, but, you know, it's like you're really ready for it kind of to be over.
Your time, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, a lot of people get to tell their story on a podcast or in a written interview, or sometimes they write it in a memoir, but few people have it, you know, in a documentary.
I know.
When you're watching
and a well-produced documentary, right? It's not like...
No.
I mean, that production level of all of those episodes are just...
lights out.
Top.
Yeah.
Right?
It's unparalleled in terms of food content. What's it like to watch it back for you?
I never saw it.
You never saw it?
No, but see, I'll never listen to this either. I just can't do it. And I never have. It's like listening to your voice on an answering machine.
Yeah.
When people had answering machines and left
their
own messages. Right? You always, you know, with questions like, that's the way I sound. I mean, I never could watch it.
Wow.
So I haven't.
Okay. Well, you and I are very different because I listen back to everything.
Yeah, you
that
do?
I'm on. Yeah. Well, it's also quality control.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But no, it's nice to know that not everybody who you look up to loves the sound of their own voice, so to speak. So thank you for that. Well, look, you mentioned Italy, and you and I have that in common. I'm Italian. You would live in Italy, but I'm not
Italian, you know. So
I would say
I'm a wannabe.
I don't think so. I would say if you lined us up and they're like, pick the Italian here, 99% of people would pick you.
Do you have an Italian passport?
I do.
See, I don't.
Well,
so you can. I can't. No, I can only be there 3 months at a time. Then I have to be gone for 3 months.
Yeah. Well, hey.
And you are lucky. So you have both American and
Yeah.
It's good for you.
Dual citizenship, but I've made the grave mistake of not going back for about 5 years now. So.
How can you do that?
Well, there are extenuating circumstances, but I am chomping at the bit, and I'm planning my trip for next year, and Umbria might be involved, so I might need to pick your brain on that.
Oh, easy. So are you fluent? Because I'm not. I have my same 25 words that I've always had. Are you fluent?
I am. Yeah, it's my first language,
Yeah,
actually. Yeah. You wouldn't be able to
in
tell
Rome.
from listening to me, right?
No, I was going to say, I was surprised when you said to me
Yeah.
you were born in Italy because you sound American. I don't even mean, I think you sound California.
Really? Okay, I was going to ask you, like, what part of America?
My part, California.
Wow. Like,
yeah.
I could have been born and raised in the San Fernando Valley. You would have never known.
No.
Yeah. No, Rome, Piazza Bologna specifically. But I've been here now 17 years, so it's I consider myself an Angelino at this point. Where did your love for Italy come from?
I'll tell you, the first trip I took as, let's say, a grown-up. So the first trip I took to Italy was in between jobs in my early 20s, and that was the typical $10 a day budget, right?
Yeah.
So as a grown-up, the first trip to Italy was actually with Jonathan Gold,
No way.
Lori Ochoa, and my then husband, Mark Peel. Campanile had been open 2 or 3 years. First 2-week trip, if that's what it was, and we went to Italy, and we were in Tuscany, and we were in, I think, Emilia Romagna. We may have even gone to Piemonte, actually. We may have gone to 3 regions. That was my first trip as a grown-up eating.
Yeah.
Our guidebook at that time was Faith Willinger's Eating in Italy, and we would pick it up every morning and say, where are we that's close enough to somewhere that Faith ate, and where should we eat? And she was our Bible.
Yeah, that's awesome. And was that your first time going to Italy?
First time as an adult, but also first time where I could actually eat at restaurants where I could afford the bill.
Yeah, understood. And I understand that, like, those trips, that trip to Italy and a later trip to Italy after you left Campanile were kind of formative in, like, sort of like orienting your career.
Yeah, it's solidifying. You know, when people ask, or have asked, sort of like, when did you develop your style in food, or when did you, my style, I know exactly. I don't know the day, but I know where it was, and it was my first meal at Chez Panisse in 1976. I was waiting for my schooling to start the following year, 1977, at the Cordon Bleu in London. But I remember eating at Chez Panisse and knowing, without a doubt, this is the type of food I like to eat. This is the type of food I would love to be able to cook.
Yeah.
But that whole, let's say, style, and also meaning the importance of the ingredients, the aggressiveness of the flavors, the simplicity of the food, and sort of the soulfulness of it was solidified after I left. Well, not after I left Spago.
Yeah.
Went to New York to work at Maxwell's Plum, left Maxwell's Plum, and was coming back to Los Angeles eventually to open or look for a location for a restaurant. That month that I spent in the house that I rented, by the way, outside of Lucca.
No way.
Outside of Lucca, great Tuscan town. And being able for the first time as a family to cook and eat every night together where I wasn't at a restaurant, solidified, like, yes, this is how I want to cook. I want to cook simply, I want to cook locally, and I want to cook with soul. And it was actually Jonathan Gold in one of his first reviews of Campanile that, at that time, journalists needed to categorize a restaurant. This is a French restaurant, a Spanish, Jonathan Gold named Campanile a Cal Ital restaurant. And that category kind of really took off as far as Cal Ital.
Yeah,
but that was him.
I've heard that you eventually came to prefer the label urban rustic over that, right?
Yeah, because I think it went back and forth to, I forgot about urban rustic, but yes, that's what it felt like to me, but it was
Yeah.
Jonathan Gold that put it in that Kalatau
Yeah.
category that other restaurants eventually made their way into that category.
Yeah. That's funny. Well, I know that after Campanile, you were sort of looking for your next thing, and one of your friends told you that you should go check out a mozzarella bar in Italy.
Yeah, that was Jeremiah Tower.
Oh, of all
Just
friends,
like just somebody,
casually.
yeah. who I had made the mistake, and that word mistake is in quotes because it wasn't. It turned out to be not a mistake, where he was at that time renting a place in Umbria as well, and I invited him over for lunch, and I hung up the phone and I thought, what did I just do? How am I going to have Jeremiah Tower over at my house for lunch? What am I going to make? It was like the next day kind of thing. And I ended up serving him food that I had on hand. I had just gone to a caseificio where I had just bought a bunch of fresh mozzarella.
Yeah.
And sort of that was the star, the protein of the meal, and I did all these kind of condiments and things that went along with it. And that's when he said, well, you need to go to this restaurant that just opened up in Rome called Obica.
Yeah.
And so I did, and that's where I got the idea for mozza.
That's crazy. And for people who aren't familiar with the idea of a mozzarella bar, what are we talking about?
Well, for us, it's the focal point of our restaurant. It's not the only thing we serve, although after I went to Obica in Rome, I came back with the idea of I am going to open this jewel box of a restaurant where there's only a counter and it's only going to be me, and I am going to engage with my customers, and I'm going to make everything myself. And that didn't happen. It became much larger than what I had thought about. But
Just a smidge.
Yeah, just a smidge. But the beauty of the mozzarella, and both in cow's milk and buffalo milk, because we have both, but there's such the flavor profile is so subtle that there's so many things that you can do with it. So it's a great canvas. Like if I said to you, I'm going to open up, say, like a blue cheese bar.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot more limited than what it is. But it wasn't. And so it's this kind of, and I think diners, love the idea of seeing their food being prepared in some way. It's a theater. So for us, having this mozzarella bar in the center of our restaurant, visually is really a great thing.
Yeah. Did you ever go to the Obica when it opened here in Central City?
Yeah, I did. But by then, then something happened where they split up, and that name was changed as opposed to OBIKA.
Yeah.
It was OBICA. There was some sort of, and I forget what happened to the ones in New York, but I did, and I thought they were great. Same thing. What a great spread that was offered. I had thought when I saw it in Rome for the first time, given the logo was very Japanese.
Yes.
And the palette was red and black, which is also felt very Japanese. I thought it was certainly somebody that it was owned by a Japanese company, and they opened up, this restaurant in Rome, but it wasn't. It was an Italian company.
Yeah.
And where the CEO or whatever fell in love with the sushi bar, or the idea of a sushi bar, and brought that back to Italy in the form of cheese rather than fish.
Well, what's funny too is the way you were describing mozzarella, what it reminds me of is tofu.
Yes. Yeah, and I had this idea, and don't steal it, by the way, or any of the listeners, but I thought it would be great to do a tofu bar because it 100% reminds me of tofu, and what a great sort of, if it was like a vegan option or something like that for a restaurant to make tofu the star of the restaurant.
Yeah. Well, hey, I'm not going to steal it, but okay. I can't speak for our listeners. How did you end up choosing Umbria as the location for your home in Italy?
25-ish years ago, looking for a place to rent for a month for my kids and my very close friends and their kids who were the same age as my younger kid. Suzanne Tracht, she owns Jar Restaurant.
Yeah.
And at that time, her husband was, his name was Vincent or Vinny. And he and I were organizing a place for our two families to rent a place for a month. So my first thought was, how about the south of France? Sounds great. So it was when computers just started to be useful, let's say, and that was his business. So he was able to pull up a computer and kind of start to, to scout, and we came up with some places in the south of France which neither of us at the time could really afford. And so I said, well, I rented a house outside of Lucca, let's look at Tuscany. So he looks up Tuscany, and it's much cheaper than the south of France. And then he noticed that there was a tiny town in Umbria, Panicale, where they rent what they call apartments, which are really the houses that make up the walls and the interior of this tiny medieval village, which was a lot cheaper. And that's where we picked. And I went there 25 years ago, and every summer I spent there except for 2020, which I couldn't go, but I was there for Christmas. And it just was so unnatural. Like 2020, June coming along and not being able to get to Italy was just really difficult. But just fell in love with the area, fell in love with the town. After 3 years of renting, I bought a small house, same one that I still have. Mm-hmm. Since then, I put in a pool, 50 olive trees, but it's great. Awesome. And I just came back from 7 weeks there, and next year I will definitely be there 8 weeks. 7 weeks is not quite enough.
How's the jet lag right now?
You know what? I never let it get in the way. Like, I leave Friday I got back, I left Wednesday, filmed a TV show on Friday outside of San Francisco, and I'm leaving Saturday for 2.5 weeks. I'll be in Singapore, where I have a restaurant, and then doing a pop-up in Hong Kong.
Wow. So you really don't let it get
No, you know what I do? If I had a watch, I don't wear a watch anymore, but if I look at my phone and I look and see what time it is, and I either go to bed if it's nighttime, or have breakfast if it's breakfast time, and I think that's the way to do it. I just don't let it
Good for you.
Get in the way.
I think I have an idea of what show you were shooting outside San Francisco, but I won't guess on the mic. Let's zoom out to LA, because I want to talk about, this is obviously your other home besides Umbria, and people, know about your resume, from Michael's to Spago to Campanile, but people might not realize just how early on you joined Spago. It was not a sure thing when you joined.
No,
right? It was
not at all.
Yeah, and you were kind of on the fence about it.
Yeah, I was sitting on that fence. So in '82, when it opened, and it's funny, Wolfgang is just in the process of kind of doing, not necessarily his memoir, but I think it's more of like a coffee table book that's celebrating his family, his career, his friendships with people. And I was thinking back to the night before Spago opened. So it opened in January of '82. I don't know the date. And the restaurant wasn't even finished. In those days, when the last nail went into the wall or onto the floor, you'd turn that close sign to open, and you were just open. Now, there's friends and family, where you bring, people in to test the food and try to, give the kitchen the last shot at, running smoothly, things like that. Back then, it was like, you're done, you open kind of thing. But so I was sitting with Wolfgang the night before Spago opened, and I didn't even know him that well, and we were sitting at a table right across from the open kitchen. And I remember him so clearly, like looking up and saying, "What if nobody comes?"
Oh, wow. That is an insane thing to remember, knowing what eventually happened.
Yeah, right? And but the thing is, I have to say, I think he still says that, or he thinks that in his mind with every opening of every restaurant, which really shows how humble he is. But, back then, he had come from Ma Maison, which was a kind of a restaurant of the stars. But back then, it's hard to believe, because chefs have so much notoriety now. Everybody knows the chefs of their favorite restaurants, right? Back then, you just didn't know. You knew the place. Right. So everybody loved Ma Maison, but probably nobody knew who Wolfgang Puck was, including myself, really. Yeah. I mean, I'd eaten there, but I didn't really know who the chef was. That now it's just so different. So when I was at Michael's and very secure, I'd only been there for a year and a half, and very happy being the assistant pastry chef. And here I had an opportunity to be the pastry chef, and I really didn't feel ready for it. Plus, I was, giving up something that was definitely very secure because Michael's was very popular, and, going into the unknown. And yet, couldn't have made a better choice,
Yeah.
Could not have made a better choice because, who knows? I just rode on those coattails of his notoriety, and it was definitely what put my name on the map. I mean, I don't know, maybe it would have found its way there anyway, who knows? But definitely Spago I owe it to.
I have a feeling it would have found a way there anyways, but that's really interesting story. You mentioned a short stint in New York, before you moved back here to open Campanile. While you were out there, because at the time, New York was very much like the dining city in the United States, along with maybe San Francisco, maybe to a slightly lesser extent. Did you ever think like, this is the place I'm actually going to open a restaurant? Could we have had a sliding doors moment where Mozza and all the other restaurants are in New York instead of California?
Oh, yeah. So when I left Maxwell's Plum, even though all I did, because I had 2 small children, I had a 3 and a few month old and a newborn, right when I moved there, all I did was work and take care of them. I mean, I didn't even see the streets of New York, and yet I loved it so much. I just felt that energy and that excitement, and that was my initial thought was, I'll come back here. This Maxwell's Plum didn't work out, that opportunity, but we planned to go to Italy for that month, but my plan was to come back, or our plan was to come back and open a restaurant in New York, and actually we found a location in New York. It was somewhere in Soho, and in talking about kind of solidifying the type of food that we were going to do, which was, again, local, simple, rustic, all, but definitely very vegetable based, which there wasn't that kind of food in New York at the time. Spending that month in Italy and cooking the way we cooked, and how much the fresh vegetables and fresh herbs made it to the food that we cooked, we realized we couldn't do it in New York, because at that time there may have been the Union Square Market, I don't know, but whatever it was, no chef's shop there, and I never even saw it, but I don't know when that market first opened. But what I do know is what the supermarkets looked like in the wintertime, which was like some green Driscoll's strawberries, sent from, underripe strawberries sent from California, to iceberg lettuce, to just a small handful of not very appealing vegetables. And after spending that month cooking in Italy, we knew right away that California is where we had to go back to. And so we had all of our things sent to Los Angeles and started looking there. But that was the reason.
Wow. So it's
different now. The farmers and the support the farmers now give to the restaurateurs in the East, is remarkable. But back then, that wasn't the case.
Right, like the Hudson Valley has blown up as an agricultural destination.
Yep.
But they are still really sort of hamstrung by seasonality.
Yes,
there, right?
much shorter, and I mean, we still outshine them, I have to think, in our produce.
Nancy, I had a tomato yesterday from the Atwater Village Farmers Market. It changed my life.
Yep.
Best one since I had a tomato from a tomato farm in Foggia down in southern Italy. And that's just something, still probably we're in tomato season even in New York, but month's time, it's over there.
Yep.
Anyways, sounds like we owe Italy a big fat grazie for having you in Los Angeles. Now, you mentioned it, but Mozza was supposed to be something very different when you opened. Still, though, there was always this mozzarella at the center.
Yeah.
And did you have any reservations about introducing a concept that is so cheese-based to a place like Los Angeles where there's an inherent fear of dairy in the streets?
You know what? I don't think I even thought about it. Just like opening La Brea Bakery, people would say, but what about carbohydrates, And I thought, oh. So you're right. There's a lot of people that have dairy allergies or try to stay away from, but I really didn't think that. I mean, it didn't deter me.
Good. You stuck true to your vision. How did it become something so much bigger than what you had originally envisioned?
Just sort of the opportunity. Well, so the idea was to open a restaurant with a Mozart. Well, the idea, again, originally was that one little counter with just me making everything. But then as soon as I had my partnership with the B&B Hospitality Group, we knew it was going to be a restaurant, and it happened that the lease on this restaurant was next door to a pizzeria they owned. And I had in the back of my mind, I really wanted to figure out how to make pizza.
Yeah.
I had what I thought was the best pizza I had ever had from Chris Bianca in Phoenix at Suzanne Goen, another household name, right? Fellow fantastic restaurateur, at her wedding in Phoenix. And I had this pizza, and after eating it, I put it in my mind, like, I have got to figure out how to do this one day. So when we found the lease where this restaurant was, and they also had a pizzeria, it's like, I will take this if I can have that.
Yeah.
And then Spacca, where we have Spacca, that building became available, and we needed to be able to have some sort of a to-go component to the pizzeria, because we couldn't do pizza to go, and everyone thinks when you have a pizzeria it has to be to go, and we couldn't do it because during peak hours we had no room in the pizza oven to both accommodate to go and our in-house customers. So we took that over, and then we started getting opportunities for opening second Mozas in different places, and so that's how the empire kind of started to grow. So we've opened some that we've had to close. We're opening kind of new ones, and it's always staying in that small handful of restaurants that we have.
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned Chris Bianco. The fact that he sort of defied the narrow boxes within pizza had to be, very Neapolitan
or New York or Chicago or Detroit, and all of a sudden that word "my pizza" came,
Yeah. And that's
my
what
own style.
I remember about your pizza the first time I had it. You should know this. I went to USC when I first dropped into Los Angeles from Italy, and I couldn't find a pizza that I really liked, right? And my friend John in college, he was like, you gotta go to Mozza, you gotta go to Mozza. So we went to Mozza, and I was like, this tastes like home, but not like pizza I had, like the bread I had at my grandmother's local bakery in Piazza Bologna. So it transported me to Italy, but in a totally different way.
Which is interesting, because I got to say, most Italians are like, this is not pizza, right? Because, I got to say, Italians, you love them, but if you make something that somebody's grandmother didn't make, then it's not good, or it's not right, or that's not the way to do it. Those Italians, they're hard to please.
They are. You got to find the right Italian.
Yeah, okay. Well, you obviously are the right Italian, because
most of them, you're right, would be like,
it's not pizza. It's not Italian.
Yeah, this is not pizza. No, but it was very much pizza to me, so thank you for that. You mentioned Mozza's grand expansion. Obviously, you still have your core business here in Los Angeles. You have a location also down in Orange County. But that's one we closed. No. Oh, that's the one.
It kind of just bumped along for 10 years or 12 years, and it just didn't make sense to keep it going. So we just closed that recently. I opened in Washington, D.C. Reopened in Singapore, where I'm headed, this weekend. Mexico, in Baja, in Costa Palmas.
Oh, yeah.
Which is on the other coast of where we think of, Cabo San Lucas, the other, on the Sea of Cortez side. Lanai, the island of Lanai. Building in Bozeman, Montana.
Oh, wow.
For next year, yeah.
So what's changed for you as a restaurateur as your focus has shifted from, overseeing the local locations to really expanding over the globe from an operations perspective?
Well, what really happened is making sure that not only the people that I work with on the corner here on Melrose and Highland, but also as our customers, knowing that this is a place that I'm so connected with. Maybe I'm not here, but I'm very connected with and always will be. And whenever I'm in town, I'm always here.
Yeah.
But, let them know that it's not something that I'm just dialing in.
Yeah.
No matter if I'm in Italy for 7 weeks on whatever we think of as a vacation, I'm also on the phone every single day, with the restaurant. Also reading all of notes about what's going on, what has happened the night before, and the goods and the bads and all that, and staying really connected. And I am, I know everything that's going on in all the restaurants.
It sounds stressful to me personally.
But it's important. And I think I really learned that from Wolfgang and Barbara about, that you can't take any of that for granted, and to just make sure everyone knows how important they are, even though they're not the only children.
I'm laughing because I remember an anecdote I heard you tell of when Wolfgang decided to open Chinois. You're like, why would you open a second restaurant?
Yeah.
And now here you are.
Yep.
Speaking of other restaurants, you've got other projects on the way here in Los Angeles. One with Phil Rosenthal. And,
I forgot.
Yeah, and then also a Korean fusion pasta bar.
Yeah, and also talking to doing something in Pacifica Palisades. So let's say if that happens with Rick Caruso. So you're right. And I forgot. So Phil Rosenthal, yes, a diner.
Yeah.
So Phil Rosenthal is an investor here at Pizzeria and Osteria and Kiesbacca. He was an investor in Orange County as well. It's really his diner, and as opposed to him investing in a project for me, he's investing in a project for himself. So that's his first restaurant, so he's very excited about that. But it's a way of honoring his parents, Max and Helen, and that's going to be the name of the diner on Larchmont. And it should open finally next month-ish.
Oh, already? Next month?
Well, it's been, let me say, if you were Phil, you would say, what is going on and why is it not open already? So, I tell you, it's tricky in the restaurant, or in building a restaurant. There's so many hoops, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, yes, that's happening. And then in Korea, another restaurant that should have been open over a year ago, and then there's always some sort of a glitch. The glitch in that restaurant was that turned out there wasn't enough power in the building to accommodate the restaurant, and they had to just kind of stop and work that out with the city. So that's probably 6 weeks away now too, and it's going to be a pasta bar, but a heavily Korean influenced pasta bar. And then, like I said, talking about possibly some sort of a restaurant in the rebuild of Pacific Palisades, which would be really wonderful to be a part of that rebirth.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you bring that up, because one thing I often talk to guests about is the tough environment restaurants are living in right now in LA, like between the fires with the Palisades, but the strikes and the post-pandemic sluggish recovery and everything that's happened. First of all, in your experience running restaurants here in LA, have you ever seen a moment quite like this one?
With all of the bumps in the road, shall we say? Yeah, no. I'd say the only part that I did see, or the only troublesome part was, kind of twofold. When you had said that here I was in New York, and that's where, when people thought about where do you want to be in the restaurant world, it would be San Francisco, New York.
Yeah.
But LA started to just it kind of fell off the map.
Yeah.
Nobody was coming to LA for its food. They were coming for many other reasons, but not for its food. And so here you are trying to be part of a group that just nobody was interested in. So that was a little bit of a struggle,
Yeah.
And the other certainly was after the whole fallout with, and all of the repercussions after the Rodney King.
Oh yeah, I bet.
That kind of era really put a damper on people of even not wanting to come to this, because my restaurants are always around this area. I call them the East Side. People that are really on the East Side laugh at calling, this area the East Side.
I live in Highland Park. This is the West Side.
Yeah, this is the way, right, exactly. But there were a lot of, all of a sudden, there was so many vacancies.
Yeah.
Again, people from the real West Side were not traveling over here. So that was, a little bit of a struggle as well. But no, the last couple of years have been really tough. And obviously the 2020 universally put.
We were all there.
A struggle.
Yet you keep opening restaurants. What in Los Angeles, the city that's experiencing so many challenges? Some might say, why do you keep doing it?
Well, look at the opportunities here. They're very different. And, it's kind of, and this is one thing, when I said to Wolfgang, why would you open another restaurant when Spago's so successful and we kind of need you here? He said, look, it also gives the people a place to grow and to, the new chefs, because if they don't stay and work for, as he said, him, they're going to go work for someone else. So opening more opportunities gave his core group a place to go.
Yeah.
And it is that.
And you've had a lot of great
moving
chefs.
people around. Yep.
Yeah. That's a great answer, Nancy. Well, you've been so generous with your time. Thank you for making time for us and our listeners. We did want to finish on a question we ask all of our guests. Which is, what are 3 LA restaurants you're loving right now?
Since I haven't been here, I always say, like, my favorite ones are the ones that I just ate at, because that's the flavor that's still in my mouth. But I haven't been here for 7 weeks.
What was the last thing you ate before that?
So what should I say? I always like to say that I'm like a real neighborhood person, right? And so, like, just kitty corner to me is Petit Trois, and I love eating there.
Yeah, that
right?
burger.
That they're everything. Lito does such a great job, and and he also has a restaurant on the same property that I have in Costa Palmas in Mexico.
It's called Molly?
Say it again.
Is it called Molly?
His restaurant?
Yeah.
No, and now I'm not going to be able to think. It's not Molly.
No, that's his restaurant in Aspen, I believe, actually.
Okay.
I'll find it and I'll edit it in.
Okay, edit it in, but it's not that, and now I just can't even think about what the name of it is. Edit it in, okay? Say so we're both there. I'd love to go to places where my friends are. So I'd love to go see Suzanne Goen at AOC, and that's kind of in the neighborhood. And I love seeing my friend Suzanne Tract at Jar. So how about if I say those 3 restaurants?
That is a terrific answer, and this has been a terrific conversation.
It has been lovely talking to you.
Thank you, Nancy. Everybody go and visit Nancy at LA Chef Con October 6th. Both those panels, we'll drop the link in the show notes. Nancy, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the LA Food Podcast. Thanks to our guests, Nancy Silverton, Father Saul, of course, and also a special shout out to my friend Robert Haleblian, who produced the video portion of Nancy's interview. And last but not least, thank you to you, dear listener, for listening along. If you like what you heard today, please go to wherever you listen to podcasts, leave us a rating, a review, subscribe. Seriously, all that stuff means the world to us. We'll be back next week with another epic episode, but if you're looking for me in the meantime, you can find me on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, YouTube, and even our website at the LA Countdown. You can also find us on Instagram at It's Acquired Taste or at acquiredtastemedia.com.